you guys are doing well. Now, first things first, before we begin, I'd like to do a mic check. Very quickly, if you could please just write in the chat box as to whether I am audible and that I'm visible. And if both of those two things are taken care of, we will begin with no further delay. But I cannot begin till the time I don't have that one confirmation. So I'd like a heads up on it, please. So I'm just going to peep in the chat box to be able to see सब सुनाई दे रहा है, सब कुछ ठीक है. Because only when everything has been taken care of can we begin, and that makes sense as well. So I think I'll just wait for maybe a confirmation or two in the chat box. Anybody who's viewing it online and would be generous enough, kind enough to be able to write or maybe give me a thumbs up or anything like that, it would be of immense help because I know everything is in order and that we can begin. Okay, now that everything's been taken care of, let us begin. Now, today might be the very first time that you all must be seeing me outside class. So, my name is Suyukti Seth. As you all know, I am already, as you all already know, sorry, I am a verbal and a critical reasoning trainer here at Top Rankers. Now, since you guys are geared up and that you are wanting to prepare for the LLB examination, the first thing as an aspirant जो आपको करना चाहिए, and that is to do a complete recce and find out what does the examination want from you. So the first enablement that one should do to oneself is equip with the background information and the groundwork. So it's very important that you do a thorough research on what is asked, what have the paper trends been, how does the paper look like, especially see and sit with the paper for at least 10 minutes to be able to browse yourself ki kaun se questions hai, kaun se nahi, irrespective of whether you know how to approach it or not. It's not the syllabus here. It's basically acquainting ourselves with what the paper has to offer. And that is a very important step because you will then be able to make your strategy, or that is where you'll be able to make a timetable कि अच्छा मुझे इस हिसाब से पढ़ना है इस एग्जामिनेशन के लिए. अगर आपको लगता है कि जो टाइप के टॉपिक्स आ रहे हैं वो मेरे पास ऑलरेडी मुझे आते हैं और इट इज समथिंग दैट यू आर ऑलरेडी कॉन्फिडेंट विद, सो देन यू डोंट हैव टू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम स्क्रैच. You can simply take off from where you last, held yourself when it came to English. So all of these, as in, which stature are you in terms of English? Where do you want to begin with? How should you be troubleshooting all of these problems? These will only be something that you will get clarity of once you begin with that prep. And the best way to be beginning with the prep is always take a peekaboo into what has happened previously. Past papers mein dekho, that's the best way to be able to know. उनसे अच्छा रिफ्लेक्शन, उससे अच्छा इंट्रोस्पेक्शन कोई भी कुछ भी नहीं कर सकता है. So having said that, let me tell you why am I here. So I am here to tell you what the English section generally contains. Please understand guys, this is not a paper specific YT, this is just an LLB approach YT. So अगर आपको अपना English strengthen करना है, so maybe these are what you need to find out. Now the kind of bifurcations that we have done in terms of questions कितने आते हैं, कितना allotment होता है, these are not again exam specific. These are मोटा मोटा English में कितना पूछा जाता है, all examinations combined. So some might ask a few, some might ask a more, but as an aspirant आपको ये सब पढ़ना पड़ेगा. The wide range, पूरा broad spectrum topics जितने भी है, that is what I'm covering today. So please do not misunderstand the YT thinking that this is specifically for this exam. No, it's for English. English में क्या क्या पूछा जाता है, what must you expect, and this expectation will work fair in every examination. अब what is going to happen is with each examination, your dedication of the number of questions will keep changing. किसी में RC heavy हो जाएगा, किसी में vocab, किसी में grammar, किसी में parajumble, so on and so forth, या किसी में cluster होगा जिसमें a bit of everything. So it's not something that is singularly taking into account targeting an examination, but of course English, पूरा का पूरा इंग्लिश को कैसे पढ़ते हैं और कैसे करते हैं. Now competitive level पे जब आप इंग्लिश को करते हो, English is not new. It is the same old that you've been doing all your while. But of course what is going to be notched up is going to be the complexity. अब LOD tough हो जाएगा, थोड़ा challenging बन जाएगा. It's going to be the kind of thing wherein you will have to really brace up, pull up your socks, put your best foot forward, and then of course get into the competitive world. Because अगर इस attitude के साथ हम नहीं गए तो हमारा कुछ नहीं होना है, right? So with that, let's take a look into what English has to offer. What are the kinds of things, at least आपकी जो checklist है उसमें क्या क्या होना चाहिए. उसके बाद कितना prepare किस exam के लिए specifically क्या करना है, including the paper breakup. All of those of course will be done in the eventual YTs. But this is essentially what we are trying to be asking. So ma'am, please launch a crash course or IPO CUET. Okay, all right. I will have that noted, and I will definitely tell that back to the HO that that is something you guys are wanting. But with that, let us begin. So we are going to be catering today as to the kind of things that are specifically asked in the 3-year LLB entrance examination. Now, a couple of things just to make you understand the gravity of English. So beginning with, कभी भी अगर हम लोग करते हैं, so most of the times what we need to know is what does the English section demand, question type breakdown क्या होते हैं, and ultimate prep approach क्या होती है. Of course, now that we have met once, we will be meeting a lot of times जिसमें हम लोग अक्सर ये सब बातें करते रहेंगे कि कैसे प्रिपरेशन करनी है, what should be done, exam specific approach क्या होनी है, so on and so forth. Maybe take up a couple of questions also live, psyche समझे कि how does it need to be do, how do we need to do it. But having said all of that, please understand English is not the kind of section that you can sideline. The kind of dedication जो English का होता है पूरे के पूरे पेपर में, it is a lot, to the extent कि it has been understood that 33% of the demarcation, that is of the proportion of the paper, is belonging to the English section. So that's a very heavy chunk. It's not the kind of chunk that you can you can just bat an eyelid to. So it is important, it is indispensable, and which is why it's very important that you perform on this section and you just don't stumble upon this section altogether. So if you are thinking of English as a side section, you are missing your major law seat. बिकॉज अक्सर ये होता है ना यार, 1 नंबर से छूट गया, 2 नंबर से छूट गया, क्या पता वो 1 या 2 नंबर इंग्लिश में आ सकता था पर नहीं आया. क्यों? क्योंकि इंग्लिश को हमने ग्रांटेड में ले लिया. सो अक्रॉस मेजर LLB examinations, please understand English typically accounts for about 30 to 35% of the total marks. So जितना भी पेपर के क्वेश्चंस होते हैं, 150 हो, 200 हो, it is going to account for almost 50 to 60 questions if a 30% demarcation is done, and that is mota mota. That is what we have understood. And of course, it demands speed and the accuracy. And both of those two things are not your forte. Then of course, English can actually take a back seat, and that's not what we want. We want to call the shots here. We want to call shotgun. हमें इंग्लिश को सामने रखना है, and we have to make sure that we are putting our best foot forward, at least when it comes to English. So let's understand English crucial क्यों है इतनी. English essentially crucial है क्योंकि obviously हम लोगों ने ये बात तो already establish कर दी है that it carries about 30 to 35% of weightage पूरे के पूरे पेपर में. इतना आप थोड़ी bypass कर सकते हो. You can't be expected to attempt the 70% क्योंकि फिर वो 70% तो 100% accuracy पे करना होगा. It's not possible. Often around 50 questions are asked out of the 150. So अगर 150 का है तो expect कर लो कि 50 के लगभग आराम से पूछेंगे वो लोग. English is not just going to test your knowledge, it is also going to test your speed, your accuracy, your precision, and something which is very important, which is called the comprehension. आपकी understanding, आपका rapport, आपकी compatibility English के साथ कितनी है, that is what is actually put to test. So English tends to typically account for about 30 to 35 of the total, about 50 questions. It tends to be checking our vocabulary depth, word game पूछता है, grammatical accuracy देखता है, comprehension skill देखता है, and of course the verbal logic section. हमारा verbal logic देखता है. So it is the kind of section which is definitely going to either make or break your rank altogether. Let's understand demand क्या करता है English. What does English require us to be equipped with? हमें क्या क्या पढ़ना है English को ठीक करने के लिए. Vocabulary हमें in depth जाननी है. So we can't just know 2 or 3 words and be happy with it. It has to be 5 words daily multiplied by the number of days till the time you have your exam. उतना तो करना ही करना है. Right? Vocabulary is a gamble. कोई syllabus नहीं होता है vocabulary का. So you will have to take your chance and keep doing the words on daily basis. Grammar के precision, which is why most of the grammar classes are going to be rules oriented. We need to know subject verb agreement का rule क्या है, subject pronoun agreement का rule क्या है, all things around it. It cannot be done without that. Comprehension clarity. Reading comprehension makes the bedrock. It makes the foundation, the fundamentals for any examination for that matter. So it's very important that you get this clarity. Structural coherence. कितनी बार आपके पास sentence arrangement आएगा, या आपके पास paragraph का completion आएगा, या आपके पास summary type आएगा. So here we are going to see how coherently do you understand, with clarity of course, to assemble the ideas together. Synonyms, antonyms पूछते हैं, analogies पूछते हैं, that is the relationship between the words. idioms, grammar और extensively पूछने के लिए error spotting पूछते हैं, for which our tenses and voices have to be on point and so does the punctuation. RC passages mostly होते हैं with respect to 300 to 500 words. इनमें the kind of questions that are mostly asked are inference, tone and context. Sentence completion पूछते हैं, sentence rearrangement पूछते हैं, sentence improvement पूछते हैं. So these are what are the broad categorization of the kind of questions that we have. And now follow up with, let's break it down and see specifically कौन से questions are to be asked in all of the following question stems. Now beginning with the reading comprehension. Passage based रहता है, you will have a passage basis which the questions are asked. Now, like I said, with each coming class, this is simply an introductory class, guys. This is telling us a broad approach to how should we be coming around the English section. With every YT, we will take up each question stem to be able to know how to better that and what is the strategy and what is the game plan that we must have. So, हमारे पास reading comprehension होता है. So, an average of 8 to 10 questions will be asked, but then that will depend. कुछ exams में सिर्फ reading comprehension पूछते हैं और कुछ नहीं पूछते हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कि वो लोग वोकैबुलरी और ग्रामर नहीं पूछना चाहते, बट वो उसको भी क्या करते हैं, दे सॉर्ट ऑफ जस्ट पुट इट, वो उसको मोल्ड कर देते हैं इन द फॉर्मेट ऑफ अ रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन ओनली. सो दे प्लग दोस क्वेश्चंस इन द रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन इटसेल्फ. द काइंड ऑफ फोकस एरियाज दैट यू मस्ट हैव ओवर हियर हैज टू बी इन्फरेंस, टोन एंड वोकैब इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट. सिनोनिम्स एंड एंटोनिम्स पूछते हैं, मोटा मोटा 5. इन सिनोनिम्स एंड एंटोनिम्स हमारा कंटेक्चुअल ग्रास्प होना है, बिकॉज हमें नुआंसेस बतानी है. इट्स नॉट द डिक्शनरी मीनिंग दैट दे आर आस्किंग कि कॉन्टेक्स्ट के हिसाब से कौन सा करेक्ट है. Analogies and one word substitutions, you can expect about 4 questions. These are all approximate figures, guys. Please understand, these are not accurate. Analytical vocabulary use, हमने समझना होता है कि इसमें relationships क्या है, and that's the kind of logical approach that has to be put to words. Idioms and phrases, muhavre and kahavate is what it is. About 2 to 3 usage, and of course they're trying to be checking what is our idiomatic bandwidth that we know. Grammar and usage में error detection आएगा या fill-ups आएंगे. These are the 2 ways in which they can ask about 10 to 12 questions, which is huge again. Mostly the detections are going to be around your tense check, voices, that is active, passive, parts of speech, punctuation. They're going to ask subject-verb agreement, subject-pronoun agreement. So these are what they generally tend to ask. Sentence completion and blanks आते हैं हमारे पास, wherein there's going to be a blank part of the statement and you have to fill it up. About 5 to 7 इसमें हम लोग logical cohesion देखते हैं, because they want to see para completions हम लोग कैसे कर पा रहे हैं. We have then improvements and rearrangements. Rearrangement is going to be a version of para jumble, but this is sentence based, not paragraph based. Improvements are of course again another way of asking a grammar question. 5 से 6 coherence and structure इसमें भी देखते हैं. Word meaning and definitions, legal terminologies is something that they tend to be asking here. So we need to be having a very good understanding of the legal terminologies, the legal maxims especially that we have. About 2 to 3 ये लोग पूछेंगे. They're checking your legal vocabulary knowledge. And para jumble, summaries and para completions इस heading में भी आ सकता है, anywhere between 2 to 3, which is going to be all about your comprehension, structure and knowledge. How well are you able to stitch the ideas together and how well are you able to get the gist of the passage in toto. Now, reading comprehension essentially में क्या होगा? You will have passages which are going to be worded anywhere between 300 से 500 words. Genre जो in reading comprehensions का generally होता है, that's legal, editorial या formal topics को लेते हैं, etc. They can ask you more. Socio-economic, socio-culture, it could be anything. So you have to be an avid reader. Reading of the editorials is a must. Now questions mainly पूछे जाते हैं main idea पे, inference पे, tone पे, vocabulary पे and logical structure पे. So logical structure is you're going to see कि author ने कोई एक बात कही and time and again in the passage उस बात ही पे और contentions हुए हैं. Ultimate जो decision होता है, that is what becomes the logically deduced answer that we have. So you're going to see about 8 to 10 questions from reading comprehension. Expect 350 words, often on legal or editorial themes, which is why reading of the editorial is paramount. बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी हो जाता है. Questions will be around the mention that we have. Vocabulary based, mota mota 10. They're going to ask roughly about 10 questions. They're going to be synonym, antonyms, analogy, one word substitution and idioms and phrases. Vocab essentially test करती है various forms. They're trying to be testing कि आप कितने अच्छे से extraction of the idea कर सकते हो. Now, for vocabulary, what you have to do is get into reading on daily basis, and once you start with your reading daily, जितने words you stumble upon आपको लगता है ये नया word है, इसको फट से लिखो and then see what the meaning of the word is. Don't learn the words, make sure you are getting it into active usage. Then we then have grammar. Grammar is going to essentially ask you error spotting. It is going to ask you sentence correction or fill in the blanks. तो एक part होगा statement में बोल देंगे preposition डालो, conjunction डालो, या rewritten forms होंगे 4 और आपको बोलेंगे उसमें से सही format निकालो. Punctuation, spelling, usage, nuance, these are the 3 things that we really have to focus on, because grammar is going to require incisive and very, very attentive attention to detail. So if you're not being microscopic with the information and we don't know what sentence structure is all about, maybe grammar can be a little offbeat for us, of course. Sentence structure, which is about completion and the rearrangements. Completion aega, which are also fill in the blanks, or they could be para completions also. And rearrangement and improvement. Improvement is the grammatical aspect. Rearrangement is para jumbles, like I said. But अब 4-5 sentences ना होके एक ही sentence को 4 हिस्सों में तोड़ देंगे and they're going to ask you to rearrange it. A lot of times they give you a box over here wherein there are going to be maybe, you know, parts of speech here and sentences, and you have to do coding based match the following. That is also something that they tend to be asking. Marking scheme and speed and accuracy. Now, as aspirants, always understand, guys, between speed and accuracy, it is the accuracy that matters first. Speed आएगी eventually. Speed has a lot to do with confidence, while accuracy is directly proportional to your performance, your practice. So please chase accuracy, don't chase speed. Speed बहुत तरीकों से आ सकती है, accuracy नहीं आती. Accuracy सिर्फ extensive practice and analysis से ही आती है. So please make sure that you do this. Now, most of the questions will have 1 mark each, which is going to make roughly about 33% of the total paper. Depending on the kind of paper that you are attempting for, there could be negative marking also, there could not be negative marking also. So you'll have to be very specific. Negative marking nahi hai, to obviously you have the chance. You can take the leap of faith and go ahead. But agar negative marking hai, you have to be very careful. Because एक number पा के 0.25 minus कर लिया तो मिला तो हमें 0.75 ही out of the 2 questions. So you have to be very smart, because negative marking is not easy, right? What is roughly the recommended pace? Roughly about 1 minute per question, which could also be about 45 seconds depending on which paper you are doing. तो अगर एक ही minute दे पा रहे एक question को, so you have to understand how valuable time is and how much your accuracy has to synchronize with the time that we have. So typical pattern में English section carries about 50 marks. That's a typical pattern. But again, we are not going paper specific. Please understand. कुछ no negative marking रखते, others tend to penalize you with a 0.25, just as discussed. Preparation strategy, we will again be jumping into this, diving very deeply, but some checklist, like I said, जो आपको करनी ही करनी है, that is going to be, please make sure you're reading about 2 to 3 editorials and you are summarizing it with respect to vocabulary. Now, this will have to be done from the Hindu. आप इसको हिंदू से करोगे. Per day, कम से कम 5 नए words को निकालो and try to put it to implementation. Try to put it to use. उसके synonyms निकालो, उसके antonyms निकालो और एक-एक sentence बनाओ. The more interactive you are, the better it gets. In evening, please make sure that you're at least doing some grammar skills, some grammar drills. Grammar drills will include you reading the rules and of course doing questions alongside it. And towards the night, you can break it down to doing 3 to 4 comprehension passages, which are going to be timed, and please do record your errors. You can also sit in one go, but if you just bifurcate it, monotonous nahi hota, boring nahi hota, bada mundane nahi hota, it just keeps the spark alive. Now, a very important thing that you have to do while doing all of your practice is to be maintaining what we call the error log, so that you can micromanage your mistakes. That's very important. So error log basically क्या होता है, is going to be your personalized diary. So a lot like Mac, but it will be your personalized diary which will tell you कहाँ आप goof up कर रहे हो, कहाँ आपको ज़्यादा काम करने की ज़रूरत है, and which are the areas which seem to be doing favorable for you. So you need to maintain an error log. Vocabulary traps, frequent grammatical mistakes, comprehension slip up, whatever it is, whatever be the goof up that you do, you will note those down and you will make sure that with every next assignment that you do newer set of mistakes, but not the same ones again. Review your logs weekly, subgroup by question type और फिर categorize करो उसको, देखो कि अच्छा कौन से title question नहीं हो रहे हैं, inferences नहीं हो रहे, कौन से, and that will give you more in-depth analysis of what really should you be doing and what should be the kind of questions you need to go ahead with. Now, micro and sections only mock. Other than the mocks, of course, mocks are the mirror. They are the truest reflection of your performance. But otherwise, sectionals bhi karo. Sectional se bhi bahut learning value hoti hai, and it's only when you keep doing these will you grow into somebody who will have a competitive temperament altogether. So focused English only mocks, please इतने sets किया करो हर 3-4 दिन में एक बार. Stimulate करो questions, 50 question sections. अगर नहीं मिल रहा है कुछ तो just pick up 50 random questions and be like, okay, I'm going to put a time and I'm going to make sure that I finish all of this. Analyze the average time that you take and the accuracy that you get, so that you know that okay, these questions you might just want to speed up and the other ones are where you want to take a break, take a pause, think for it and only then go ahead. So you're not scrambling the ideas there. So ultimately, what are going to be our key takeaways? Please understand, English is unmissable. English को आप side track नहीं कर सकते. English बहुत important है. Almost 1/3 of your total marks is what is dedicated to the English section. English requires you to read very deeply and contextually, and with respect to that, it is also going to check your precision of grammar. So English is just not going to be an easy drive altogether. It's not that. English is going to set up a challenge for you and you will really, like I said, have to brace so that you are ready for what competitive English is all about. Error logs, please maintain karna. Nothing can be a better teacher than your own mistakes. Make a daily routine and keep doing the mocks to sharpen. Like I said, with the coming videos, we will engage and extensively talk about a lot of things and how is it that you can do better. But this was an overview of what English is expecting from you and what you need to give to English as a section to be able to score. Ultimately, consistency and reflective practice always tends to win. So in the end, I'd like to just sum it up by saying, English can fetch you a lot of scores for as long as you're focusing on strong reading, nuanced vocabulary, and flawless grammar. So use the daily routines, the error log, the specific section mocks. Over time, consistency always transforms into performance. The more consistent, the more disciplined you are, the better it reflects on your performance altogether. And that was it. This was my approach to be able to tell you what English is surrounded with, what is the boundary to it, what is the kind of activity that you have to engage with when it comes to English, and how can you better. I'm going to see you guys again very soon with more such pedantic understanding of the topic. How do we have to, wrap our heads around different types of strategies and how to ultimately have those begin to reflect on our performance. If you like this video, please do hit the like button. Share it with all of your like-minded friends who are also preparing and who are also a little, they're struggling. समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कि कहाँ क्या करना है. Do write in the comment box if you want me to pick up something specific that has been bothering you and that you need clarity for. I'm going to see you guys super soon once again the next time with more engaging strategies. But till then, now that you have an overview, syllabus is not the right word, but I'd like to put it at least with, the checklist of English that you have, there should be no stopping. You have to become an unfathomable force, and that is something you will only become with practice. So keep the practice going, keep the reading going, keep the vocabulary engaged, flaunt it while you can, because once the exams are over, you will never give English this importance again. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.